Aretha Franklin is such a iconic figure that she means many things to different people. So basically, you could split that up into three categories. Number one is Aretha Franklin as a great singer and artist, and millions of people love her music. And there's different phases of her music. And some people like her gospel music, some people like her jazz, some people like her blues, some people like her soul and R&B, some people like her pop. So she's very diverse in terms of her music. The second category, or the second reason why people would be so into Aretha Franklin, especially at this time of her passing, would be her iconic status as a symbol of 1960s civil rights movement and 1960s women's liberation movement. Her music inspired activists in both of those two areas, and there's lots of people who will be talking about that today. And then the third area, which is the one that hits closest to home for me, is I grew up on Aretha Franklin's music through those many phases. But almost more importantly to me, Aretha Franklin has always felt like a member of my family. And there's very few artists that I can say that about. And I've never met Aretha Franklin, but she's had a life story of lots of trials and tribulations on a personal level that make me relate to her as a person, much more so than almost any other artist.
Well, she was known as the Queen of Soul. Is there anyone, any current artist perhaps, that she's perhaps passed the torch onto, anyone that comes close?
Well, that's an interesting question, because most female artists, regardless of what genre they're in, are inspired by and influenced by Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin was one of the first pop music artists, popular music artists who really did her own thing. She wrote, she played, she was a genius on piano. She's a great singer, and so she's an inspiration to just about any female singer that you would want to name. Anyone from Adele to Jill Scott to just about any female artist you'd want to name. Mary J. Blige, all of those, if you want to talk about modern day artists.
Indeed, she inspired several generations of musicians, of singers. And you mentioned earlier that Aretha Franklin was also a dedicated activist. And I feel like not many people know about that side of her.
Well, without going into all of the detail, from an American perspective, Aretha Franklin sang at Dr. Martin Luther King's funeral. And she also sang at the first inauguration of President Barack Obama. So if you think about those two individuals, and the fact that she's connected to those two, that gives you an idea of the scope of her involvement as an activist.